We also talk about stock in trade and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have been bludging over the last 7 days. So what are we talking about then? Yeah, what specifically? Plant and equipment, what else?
We were talking about if you own a business and you buy, for example, a printer or a computer, you have to pay zakat on that as well.
Alright.
Staple goods as well.
Alright, we'll get to that one. Alright, so the one for us that we've really got to consider is that if you own a business, you operate some sort of a business. Yeah, maybe turn it down. Whatever room temperature is, 23.5. So if you own a business, okay, whatever you use for the operation of your business, you have to add the market value of that up and include it in your zakat. So if you've got a bit of money, and you got, like we said, you own a shop and you got shelves and cash registers and cupboards and a delivery truck that you use just for that business, then you've got to add up the value of that, whatever the market value. So the truck, you might have bought it for 100 grand, but now it's only worth 10 grand. So you add up the market value at the time when you add everything up, and then you include that in your zakat, and that goes on top of whatever you've got cash in hand, and you pay how much on it? 2.5%. Alright, what other types of things is zakatable? You said staple?
Staple goods.
Like what?
Wheat, oats.
Wheat, oats, rice, lentils, whatever people use as the staple food, the main food. If it's potatoes in Ireland, that's what they used to have in Ireland, then it'll be potatoes.
But that's if you grow it.
If you're the grower, yeah, not if you got it in the kitchen cupboard or toys or whatever. If you're the producer of those primary products, then you pay on that. What else? What other things do we say?
Livestock.
What type of livestock?
Cattle, sheep, goats, and camels.
Cattle, sheep, goats, and camels. What about horses?
No.
Okay. No horses. You go with horseback like the Old West. Alright, what about mine stuff that comes from mines? Are you sure? Everything that comes out of the mine?
It depends on the method.
Okay, well tell us the difference. Whatever your mother is, who's Shafi'i, tell us what the Shafi'is say.
Shafi'i say just gold and silver.
Right, and Hanifa?
Say anything that
Alright, anything metallic that comes out of the ground, you pay zakat on it. What else? What other types?
Pre-Islamic treasure troves.
MashaAllah. Okay, so who can define that for us?
Something buried because we don't have places for.
Right?
And they bury it and you find it.
Okay, exactly right. Treasure in the Shafi'iyah, it's gold and silver. Abu Hanifa, anything that's jewelry. Okay, that's the difference between the two. If you dig it up and it's before the times of the Prophet of Allah, you pay zakat, how much? 20%, mashallah. Not many people knew that, I reckon.
How would you know if it's before?
By the definition of it, by looking at it. Like things like when they find buried treasure, they find Spanish coins, that came from the period. So someone, a khabir, someone who knows what they're on about, they'll be able to determine. You won't give one book to it, okay? They'll be able to determine what the era was, what era it was buried in.
So it has to be before.
Pre-Islamic, yeah. That's the case.
All right.
In Abu Hanifa, if it's in the treasure trove, yeah. Anything that's valuable, but in the Shafi'iyah, no. And if it comes out of the ground, no, there's no zakat. But when you sell it, it's part of your stock in trade. Alright, so one thing we didn't mention, we'll continue I suppose with the types of people. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah fi ni'amahu wa yukafi al-mazid wa salatu wa salam ala khayr lana wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. إننا وإنا نتعلم ونتعلم ونتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والدعاء والهدى والدلالة على الخير والحق والتمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله ابتغاء مرضات الله وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praise it's worthy to a beneficent bestower of bounties and blessings, and we ask our Lord Most High to send copious and eternal blessings upon our beloved Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay, so we go back to the verse, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها. That's the next category of people. The next category of people, والعاملين عليها. Okay, so it's third category of people is that those involved in the collection Okay, so that's the third category of people that are entitled to zakat. Now this is straightforward, but it's got a little kind of quirk in it. So last week we said that is it the right of the state to collect the zakat?
An Islamic state.
We're talking about
Oh, yeah.
Sharia. Is it the right of the state to collect zakat?
Yes.
All right, and whose right is the zakat?
The person that eats it.
Okay, there's 8 types of people, not poor. The 8 types of people. The 8 categories of people. All right. So this one, because it's the collection and the administration, anyone who's involved in the process of collecting or administering zakat is entitled to take from that zakat for their own livelihoods. Because we're talking about, don't forget, it's not just about giving money to the poor. That's what's in our heads. Isn't that what's in our heads about zakat? Find a poor person living under a bridge, give him money, say see you later. Buy him a Big Mac or whatever it is. That's not really zakat. Zakat really is the alleviation of poverty. That's one of them. There's other types of categories, but that's the main focus and the main aspect of zakat. Did you put it on hot, man? I think you did. All right. So the thing is that rich people should be using their money to alleviate the situation. It's the haqq of the poor people, of the 8 people, 8 different types of people. It's their right that people with money look after those other people. That's the right that Allah has engendered or enjoined for everybody. Okay, so this goes more directly to that point. More directly to that point because in the days gone by, as we said, what did Abu Bakr say when he said after the time of Ridda, when people turned apostate and people renounced their Islam, what did Abu Bakr say?
Said you can rob the rich people.
Yep, that was in the time of Umar, right? That's a good one too. When the people mana was zakat, when the rich people stopped giving zakat and there was thievery and people were starting to get their hands chopped off, Umar sent to the governor of Egypt and he said, okay, tell all the poor people to go rob the rich people because the reason why it's happening on a global or a big scale is because that's what's going on. It's not because of the famine, not because there's flood, earthquake, natural disaster. It's because the rich people are not giving their zakat. Okay, so Abu Bakr, he said, why did he declare war on the apostates?
Wasn't it because like if you don't pay zakat, you're not part of Islam anymore?
Right, فرقوا بين الصلاة والزكاة. وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة. How many times did we say it comes in the Qur'an? About 20 times. أقيموا الصلاة, establish prayer and give charity. آتوا الزكاة, make sure you pay your charity. Don't not pay it. It's part of the Islam. So he said that whoever divides between the prayer and the zakat, even if they refuse to give me the aqal, the thing they used to tie the camel up with to the Prophet ﷺ, then I'll declare war. And that's what Abu Bakr said. So this goes to that aspect of it. The zakat had to be collected. So the Prophet Abu Bakr sent Ali to Yemen. He sent different people to different places, and they need to survive. They need to get there. They need to have their caravans, whatever. So in the old days, like we said, we didn't say, but we talked about sheep. So if a person had 40 sheep, they had to give one sheep zakat. So if these people were 2 or 3 people traveling through the desert and they got hungry and they had nothing to eat, then they'd be entitled to slaughter that sheep, to live off it, to collect more zakat and do whatever they had to do. So in this day and age, and the administration, which means to find out who the 8 different categories of people are, and then, like we just said, to work out of the money they've got, who should they give it to, and in what manner should it be given. So that takes people of knowledge, not just Islamic knowledge, but business sense and practical market experience. They're going to buy a property, they don't want to be a property that's going to run at a loss. And so the poor person is stuck. Okay? So it's that administration aspect of it. So this is the establishment of I suppose, the public treasury, you could say, or as like it's called here, the ATO. So it's the establishment of that in a sense. And so today we'll take a different form. So today I was speaking to one of the sheikhs who's the chairman, the CEO, managing director, or chief executive officer, or whatever, of one of these companies, the head guy, and he's saying the debate we have is our air conditioning, because they collect the money from the people. They only turn the air conditioning on 4 hours, mashallah. They only turn the air conditioning on. It's Muslim Aid Australia. So if you want to give your money, you can give it to them. Only 4 hours a day, because they say it's not our money, these are donations. And so because they're amilina alayha, and their administration costs went from 15% of the total money collected to about less than 5% now. Not only that, they never used to fly business class. But now one of the rich people came and said, look, here, fly business class, I'll buy all your tickets anywhere you need to go throughout the world. So that's the question that has to be asked in terms of administration. Yep, we've collected all this zakat. Do we fly business class? Do we fly economy? Do we catch the train? So that's these people involved now. It should be on a bigger scale. You'd imagine it would be on a bigger scale because there's more money involved. Okay, so that's these people. They're entitled to use a portion of the zakat as determined by the administration for the benefit of those people working to collect and distribute and administer the zakat. All right. Any questions about any of that? It's pretty straightforward. It's not high tech. But can you see the system? Can you see the economic system that Allah has engendered to alleviate economic oppression? This is a bit of a, I don't know how to really say this one in English. It's those that they want to ta'leef means to soften their hearts or to bring them close to, I suppose. So this is specifically speaking, ta'leef is to I suppose you could say soften hearts. Okay? So it sounds a bit weird, but when we explain it, the ta'leef al-qulub, عند الشافعية, it's for those people that are just on the verge of entering into Islam, or they've entered into Islam, and they need money. The money will make their hearts stronger. Some people are like that. Some people, I've met some people, they became Muslim, they go around and knock on Muslims' doors, I'll become Muslim, brother, this, that, times are hard, whatever, and they take money. That's how they get their strength. Okay? So that's the Shafi'iyya and Abu Hanifa say those people. Those people that are on the verge of converting, or those people that have converted and their hearts are not firm yet, and money will help them in whatever their situation is to make their hearts firm in the deen. Abu Hanifa, he says that even if it's to create relationships with non-Muslims and even the enemies of Islam, to soften the hearts of the enemies of Islam. And Abu Hanifa uses that when the Prophet of Allah came to Mecca, that he gave 100 camels to about 6 or 7 different heads of Quraysh, one of those being Abu Sufyan. So there's the Shafi'i don't have that, it has to be Muslim. Abu Hanifa says that any group of people. So let's think about it in the times we're living. Like if we had all this cash, petrodollars and all these things, and we went to Zanzibar or Zimbabwe or Colombia or Peru, and we gave money to make social infrastructure, not just to give the politicians the money that they need it, but to create social infrastructure. The Turks do this. What's the thing they got called? I forget what it's called, but they've got a charity. What they do is they send a teacher to a school in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, anywhere in the world, and the teacher susses out the area. Eventually they open their own school, and then they form a community basically. So from the school, there's always a community around the school. Teachers, parents, those around the area. And then from then they find out what's needed in this area. Is it a hospital? They build the hospital. Is it a university? They build the university. Is it whatever, some sort of a justice center? They build it. And they end up forming and they don't come in the name of Allah like clearly like that. They just do the good work and people know they're Muslims and people, tens and tens of thousands of people, alhamdulillah, become Muslims. So that's the type of thing that can be used when it comes to zakat. And that's really, as Muslims, the type of things that we should be thinking of, like the farmers in northwestern or central north Queensland. We should be taking $50,000 instead of our Mashiach when there's a terrorist attack talking. The Mashiach should be talking when this goes on. They should be taking the big, one of those massive checks, those huge ones, $50,000, and present it to the farmers and go around and then pray Salatul Istisqa. Ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bring the rain, and that's it. That's the ta'lif. That's in the Qur'an. Like that's what our money should be used for. All right. And now Sahih al-Shafi'is, we don't use it for non-Muslims, but that's why ikhtilaf ulama is rahmah. That's why the difference of opinions in scholars is a mercy. So that we should be using, especially we're a minority in Australia, we should be using, whether it's life-saving or whether it's that cot death syndrome, with the red noses or whatever it is, whatever cause has got khair in it, we should be doing whatever we can to get behind it. Any questions about any of that? وَلَفَتِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ. Now this one, it doesn't exist anymore. فِي الرِّقَابِ, so it's to emancipate slaves. Yeah, it's a contractual emancipation. Right, it's a contractual emancipation of slaves. So for us, it's kind of hard to imagine because legally speaking, this pen here, and the slave is the same. They're both property. That's how slavery works. Someone owns someone, they have a kid even, they own the kid, they own like two slaves have a kid, the person's got two slaves, male and female, they have a child, they increase their power and that's how it works, that's how slavery works. So if someone they call it a mukatib, someone is a slave, you can enter into a contract with his master or her master to be alleviated from slavery. But they need money because a slave it's just like everything else. There's an art line pen, Parker pen costs this, Mont Blanc pen costs that. Different pens cost different things. So different slaves, according to what's the market's doing, cost different amounts. So of course the owner's going to want market value for their slave. So it's part of this doesn't exist anymore, but just we need to know it. But they're one of the categories and then what's this? Again, not just economic justice, but justice, absolute justice. That as much as possible, we don't want people to be in slavery. So if someone's enslaved and they want to get out of their slavery, they enter into the contract. If there's zakat money, either an individual or the state, as the case here, they can distribute or give that person money so they can pay back their owner and become free. Yep? It's not that hard. It's pretty. Most of it's actually, once you learn it, you think, oh, it's not that hard, but not learning it. وَالْغَارِمِينَ. So these are the people that are in the debt. Okay? The people that are in severe, and the condition is, it has to be a halal debt. They can't be in debt for, whatever. They can't be in debt because they had a brewery or went bust and they owed people money. You can't give that. You can't give them money for anything. So the issue there is interest. If someone's got an interest loan, there's different opinions, whatever, but that's one thing to be considered. So the ulama, particularly the Shafi'iyya, say that even if someone wants to get married, they can fall into this category because they have to pay the mahar. The brother's got to come along. If you're Lebanese, she wants $280,000, $300,000. If you're Fijian Indian, then she wants $1,000. That's it. All right. So, and there's the spectrum between the two. That's how it is. And really, I tell the sisters, just go for half. If you really want to be, if If you really don't want to have problems later on, tell them on what half. Or if it's $1, I'll take 50 cents. If it's 10 million, I'll take 5 million. Then you get rid of those issues. But it's problematic, and the sisters that aren't married need to consider that. You know, they need to consider that if you're entering into a contract, into a marriage, it's a contract. You need to know what your rights are. You need to know what you should be asking for. If the guy's cashed up, and you're, you know, a person is reputable from a reputable family, you're educated and all these things, you need to be asking for money. You shouldn't be going along and if you're, you know, if the guy's super wealthy and, for example, his sister's mahar was $500,000, then you shouldn't be asking for 20 grand. Because especially in this economic world we live, unless they fear Allah, the people, they're going to say, she's 20, you know, it's not worth anything. Well, this is what happens. I'm not like making it up. This is the reality of the world we live in. So if you're amongst people who are they fear Allah and they live Islamically, and you know they married their daughter off for a gold coin or whatever, all right, different story. But if they're all their muhur, all the mahar is high, and you got to, you know, your dad or whoever's responsible for you has got to understand that. And if he doesn't know, you got to tell him. So one time the Shaykh said that this. Otherwise, they belittle you. You become belittled amongst that family, and you lose respect. And then the other thing is, if there's a breakup, what's going to happen? If you end up going to court, are you taking more than your right? Are you taking less than your right? What's the story? So it's a contract. Anytime you enter into a contract, you sign on the dotted line, there's rights and responsibilities attached to it. But if someone, that's what happened at the time of Sayyidina Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, that there was so much money in the Baytul Mal and the public treasury that they started marrying everyone off. And everyone was married. There's no more poor people. In his time, in 2.5 years, in 2.5 years of economic justice in the Islamic world, if you want to say, there was no poor people, there was no unmarried people. And people would come up to each other and discuss, you just leave it, so I mean, so people would be coming up to people in the street and saying, you know, take my zakat. They'd say, no, I don't need it. Well, what am I going to do with my zakat? Well, that's what was happening at the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. That's what they call him, the 5th Khalifa Rashida. So it's happened in the world. It's not like it didn't happen. And that's even a greater sign to show that when people, you know, like now it's 80 of the top billionaires own half as much. When I was younger, which was a long time ago, it was 230 odd, or 240 of the top richest people owned as much as half of the world's wealth. Now it's 80. It's going to get less and less. It's oppression. And even Islamically, outside of this, it's haram to have a monopoly. You know that? It's haram, Islamically, to have a monopoly. Because if you have a monopoly, you control people. You control people, you can do whatever you want. Alright? So is that clear? Anyone who's in major debt, you can give them money to get out of their debt. Not to give them money to go spend it. Right? They want to go, like one time that happened. The brother's like, you know, I'm sick, I'm in hospital, this and that. So the brother's collected some money, and then he got out of hospital early, he recovered quickly because everyone was around him, giving him support, he was happy. And then they said, well, we collected all this money, there's money left over. And he's like, oh, I'm poor, you know. No worries, well, you take the money and start a business with it. He's like, yeah, next week you buy a Mercedes-Benz. Right? So it's not that you give the person the money so they can do whatever they want with it. You give them to get out of their debt. Or as we said previously, to establish a business where they can live off that money rather than every week, every month, asking, give me. Question? No? وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله. So this one. Okay? Not those who are in ISIS, alright, or whatever it is, those crazy people out there that are killing innocent civilians. But those in the way of Allah. Shall I write it up here? Okay? Those who are in the way of Allah Azza wa Jal, these people, they're entitled to zakat. And the Shafi'iyah, it's restricted to those soldiers that are fighting to defend the frontier of Islam or to increase, the Muslims. And so it pretty much doesn't exist in the Shafi'iyah. In Abu Hanifa, it's anyone who's fi sabilillah. So that's big difference. So that's someone who's studying knowledge, mosques, all these types of things. That's what they say. That's what Abu Hanifa says. Which probably in our day and age, if you're an Australian, probably closer to the. You know, there's not one charity that collects money for Australia, Muslim charity. They all collect for overseas, which is good. But what about people in Australia? What about the Muslims in Australia? People need a hand. Yeah, we all live pretty well, alhamdulillah, but people still need a hand. People still need help and assistance, particularly sisters when they get divorced, when they have issues with their husbands, they don't know where they want to go, they don't feel safe. Unfortunately, their family deserts them. So there's a societal or a social need for things in this country.
I think there is about 2 organisations that are doing that now.
There are now, alhamdulillah, that's good. So there's a couple.
There's a need, there's something charity house.
That's good.
For the sisters.
Alhamdulillah.
They're starting on.
That's good. I mean, those things need to be established. We've been collecting money for everywhere else for so long, but we haven't thought about ourselves. That just shows how regressive our thinking is, rather than being progressive. Our thinking is regressive. It's our money. It should be used for our brothers and sisters, and that's the shara. The shara says to use it in your area first. Then if there's no need in your area, somewhere else. But mashallah, we've still got Lebanese brains, Palestinian brains, Iranian brains, Persian, whatever it is we have. And we only think about, that's our country, we're just here, visitors. No, we're not. Once your children are born here, where are you going? You're not going anywhere. You're going to probably die here more than likely. And if you don't build the infrastructure of the land in which you live as a Muslim, then where's the deen? It's not a deen anymore. It's just it's just a bit of worship on the side though. We'll just do a bit of worshipping, and later on we'll go, build a house in Lebanon in the village. They can't get along with the people anyway, and the people can't get along with. Anyway, that's a different story. Ibn Sabil. The last one is the wayfarer. Oops. Okay? The wayfarer is someone who's traveling from point A to point B, and they lose their money, they don't have the means to get back to their home or wherever they're going. And the Shafi'iyya has to be a Muslim, and Abu Hanifa can be non-Muslim as well. So that individual is entitled to zakat. It's not sadaqah, it's zakat. Okay? So they're not hard, are they? The 8 different categories of people. No? Yep. Alright, I'll tell you later. I'll send you an email. Alright, so they're not, once you actually look at them, and once you actually think about them, they're not really that hard. They're pretty straightforward. But for us, it's really, really important to know these things, because this is basically the foundation of our deen. Because if people can't live, and don't think that what I'm saying, no matter what I say, no matter how much I harp on the point, I don't know if we're ever going to get the idea. Because do you think that Islam spread just because people love Allah and the Prophet of Allah? Is that what you think? Historically speaking, why do we all love, except if you're, I suppose, a Muslim, but we still love America. I don't care what anyone says. When you see the Palestinians, who I love, when you see them throwing rocks at the Israeli tanks, what are they wearing on their shirts? What kind of shoes are they wearing? What caps? What pants? They're all wearing jeans. They're all wearing Nikes and Adidas and Tommy and whatever the latest thing is. Okay? I'm not discrediting them. But what I'm saying is that the dominant culture on earth is white culture. It's the dominant. Why? Not because they're shorting, probably are, but that's not the reason. The reason is because they bring the world into the Industrial Revolution. Right? They bring benefit into the world. The English, yeah, they colonized the world, but they bring trains, steam engines, all the technology, armory, military might, administration, whatever they bring. Okay? They bring it, so people looked at it and said, hey, this is better than what we got. Muslims in particular looked at it and said, this is better than what we got. Let's try this out. And before their turn, it was the Muslims, right? Muslims came with money, came with technology, came with systems, legal systems, judicial systems, administrative systems. And the people were like, oh, these people are all right. And they would say to their children, the children would say, Dad, who are these people? And they'd say, oh, they're Muslims. Oh, what do we think of them? Yeah, look, they're okay. They're okay. And then the kids would later on look at them and say, they're better than okay. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Why? There's benefit. They're getting money. Their towns are being built. Their roads are being paved. The sewage system in Istanbul was built 500 years ago and is still working today. We can't even build a road in Sydney the last 10 years. I'm telling you, all the technology and all the things, they built the M2 in 97. And what, now it cost $500 million to build, 2 lanes, everything. Now they're going to spend $550 million to put an extra lane. Why don't you just do it 3 lanes in the first? The M5. Have you ever travelled to the city on the M5? It's bloody ridiculous. You go from Campbelltown, it's 4 lanes. You come to here to King George's Road, it's 2 lanes. What's that? It's called a bottleneck. You can't, that's it. It's always going to be traffic there. So 500 years ago, the system for the sewerage in Istanbul, I'm just trying to explain to you how important it is. And it's still going now. They're still using it, and that's it. It's catering for the people. So if we don't benefit the world, of course the world thinks we're redundant, which is what they do. They're like Muslims. What have you done for the world in the last 200 years? Before that, we did heaps. Astronomy, geometry, mathematics, all the different disciplines of science, psychology, philosophy, all the different types of medicine. We came up with these things, our ancestors did. And then we just said, alhamdulillah, Musliman inshallah, I'll go to Jannah, don't worry. And so we're behind. We have individuals that are awesome. If you look at like the Nobel Prize people, there's been about 10 Muslims in the last 20 years. Individually we're good, but as a collective, we're just hopeless. We can't even pull the oil out of our own lands and benefit for it in our own land. Someone has to come from outside and do it for us, and then they pay us, a pittance and take the rest and build their society, build their nations, build their country, build their ideology. Build their ideology. Don't even worry about that. Where's our media station? We had Al Jazeera for a while, but now it's... look what they... When do we ever produce a good movie? Why all the great stories we've got of all the prophets, we haven't... the Message, I think that's what it's called, That was the only one, and it was like kind of B grade. Sorry. I love the movie. It's a great movie. It's about the Prophet of Allah, but it's kind of B grade. Like when's something going to happen? If it wasn't about the Prophet of Allah, I said, you wouldn't watch it. You're like, how come they can make Noah and the 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur and all these epic movies? Where's ours? Where's our da'wah? Where's our propagation? So money is important, as we said back 2-3 classes ago. But it's our connection to it. Why are we going to use it? Why do I want money for? So I can have a 7-bedroom house with 7 bathrooms and 2 kitchens, and I want to have, that's not enough, but I've got to buy a house for my son and a house for my daughter, and then, I've got to do more so I can get more money. Is that why? Is that what the money's for? Or is it for something greater than my own, after my needs? Is it something greater than my own wants? My needs have to be taken care of. That's fun. And then, even when we talk about this, where's our self-sufficiency? If we're going to talk about in the way of those in the way of Allah and the poor and the needy, the impoverished and the poverty-stricken, it's fard kifaya on every Muslim community to have and produce what they need to survive. Well, our bananas come from somewhere, our pineapples come from somewhere, our water everything comes from somewhere else. I'm talking Muslim countries. You go like Lebanon, what does it produce basically? Everything comes from Turkey, but nothing. Guess where when you go to Mecca and Medina, guess where the chicken comes from, most of it? France and Brazil. France and Brazil. And then you find out if they got halal stuff. When we were there, we were studying, we asked all the Brazilian brothers, they said, we don't even have halal in Brazil. There's no major, we have to go to the individual butchers to get it. So how's it halal in Saudi? And who knows? Who knows? So you go to KFC, overlooking the Kaaba, and you don't even know what you're eating. Unless you go there and ask if it's baladi. When you go there, you've got to ask, is it baladi? Is it from this nation? Is it from here? Then you know it's all right, because someone slaughters it. So these are the type of things that, if we don't know how to use our money properly, right? If we don't know how to use like in Australia, there's so many rich Muslims. So many rich Muslims. I don't blame them. I wouldn't give my money to most of these organisations either. It's shonky. I don't blame them. But Where's our organisation? Where's the formation, as we said, of the relationships with other people, with other communities, so that we can establish ourselves? At the moment, we're not established. The government doesn't care about us. As long as the Halal is making $16 billion a year export, not internal, they don't care about us. Why should they? I wouldn't either. There's no votes in it. We don't vote. Here, last time I was talking to one of the politicians in Auburn, he was saying that the highest donkey vote, which means a vote, so they call it donkey, like jahash, you know? The highest donkey vote in the whole of New South Wales is where? Where you're sitting right now. People don't even know how to put a 1 in a box. Yeah, they know that. That's why they don't care. And I wouldn't care either. Why would you bother about a people that they don't bother about themselves? Why would you do that? Where are our institutions? Where's our political lobbying? We don't have any of these things. So why would you bother? Ring up people, yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, I feel sorry for you, he's Parramatta, blah, blah, blah. What's that? What do we do back to them? What do we say back to them? Nothing. So if we don't, this is the essence of establishing that. We know how they want to establish Islam, Khalifa. It's not about what's going on in Syria. It's this. If you have these things, you'll establish the Khalifa. Isn't that what people, Hizb Tahrir and these guys, they want to blow the whole universe up. Not these guys, but some people want to blow everyone up because they want to establish this. You tell me you won't have Khalifa? You tell me you won't have it. Poor people, no longer poor. If you knock on his door one day, he's going to say, what do you want? Or her door. You are the people that maybe allow me to eat and allow my children to have clothes and have an education. And you don't think he's going to teach or she's going to teach her children that these people are good people. Whatever you do, keep in mind that you have to help these people. They become doctors. They work for free. Whatever they do. Whatever it is. This zakat. Money. Not this war and this is all just backwards stuff. This is a distraction from the reality. Establish this and whatever you want, you'll have. And even in Australia, if you establish this, let's say we've got an organisation that every year does $1 billion zakat, and we've got abattoirs and restaurants and cafes and factories, and we've got building, what do they call them, construction companies, and what the government's not going to say what do you want. They're going to listen to, of course they're going to listen to us because we're making the economy move. We're making jobs. We're paying tax. We're keeping the community together. Less crime when people are working, etc., etc. Probably less extremism as well. One brother, we were talking about de-radicalization, and he said, I got the answer. I said, what is it? There's a switched on brother. He goes, Islamic finance. I'm like, how do you figure? He said, when all these guys that are going overseas, they're all poor. Give them Islamic finance, let them get tied up in a mortgage for their house and a car, and they're not going to worry about going anywhere. The guy's on point. They're not going to worry. Why are they going to go over there when they've got issues? They've got to pay the bills and blah, blah, and they've got a house and their wife and their dad and everyone's on their back saying, where are you going, Habib? You've got bills to pay, you've got a mortgage. And of course you're going to feel connected to the land. Of course you're going to feel connected to the... So, and like I said, I'm harping on about it, I understand that. But I want you to realise how huge it is. So, Salat, Psalm, Salat, Psalm, Salat, Psalm. Yes, Salat, yes, Psalm. No doubt. There's no doubt. But without this, without the practical application, where's it going to come from? Where did the prosperity come? When did the futuhat come? The Baytul Mal was filled. I can't remember the Sahaba when the Prophet was making hijrah. He was poor and he was even trying to kill the Prophet of Suraqa, was it? I think it was Suraqa. He was trying to kill the Prophet of Allah, and he said, no, one day he said to him, you'll have the crown of Persia. When the crown of Persia came, kicked it. The crown of Persia, one of the major empires, wasn't worth anything to him. But when the money came, people were like, well, there's somebody now. Isn't that the case now? Tell me it's not. When you see someone rock up in a Bentley or a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, everyone's like, oh yeah, nice. What's going on? Or someone comes, they're well dressed, or they live in a particular area, or they have a particular job. Everyone's like, oh wow, you pay. But when I was impoverished, and destitute. And as an ummah, that's what we are. As an ummah, the Prophet said it. كَهَبَاءٍ مَنْثُورًا. He said, كَغُثَاءِ السَّيْلِ عَفْوًا. He said, like the foam that's on top of the like the ocean, or on top of the, when there's غُثَاء السَّيْلِ means,
It's scum.
yeah, it's what it is. It's a scum. He's a scum.
Foam scum.
All right. So in the desert, because he's talking to Arabs, it rains like twice a year, once a year, sometimes once every few years. But when it rains, it floods. So all the low-lying areas turn into creeks and little rivers. And what's on top of them? Scum. Like it's just the foam of the the dirt. So that's how you'll be. In other words, ineffective. Mate, you can imagine. You're not rated amongst the rest of the world. And look, we're not even human beings really. Am I wrong? Am I exaggerating? What? That we're dying every single day. Big deal. Someone white person dies from a particular country, it's a massive issue. And that's how it should be. Every people's governance should protect their own people. That's how it should be. All lives matter. It's not just that we're just giving an example. But us, who comes and says, that so-and-so is a Muslimah, we need to stand by her. Each to their own. Why? Because I want money for my own purposes, not for the purpose Allah has set out. You need to have it. Everyone needs to have it for their own purposes. The basics in life, you need to have it, especially if you're a male. Sorry, boys, gentlemen, you got to work, you got to provide, house, car, clothes, food. You got to do all these things for your wife. A happy wife, that kind of business. That's your responsibility. Whereas your responsibility is not that. You can think more of that. You can volunteer, become educated, do whatever, and volunteer and help the world. Make the world. Do you think we're going to do it? No. It's yourselves are going to do it. It's the sisters. The sisters, you can't follow my footsteps or this brother, or you can't follow the men's footsteps. You have to pave your own way. You can't follow our footsteps because we've got a different role. And that's a lot of the marriage conflict as well. Why can he do that and I can't do that? Hey, where are you going? You're female, he's male. There's a big difference between, yes, you're equal. But a kilo of oranges is different to a kilo of rocks. They're both a kilo. But oranges will do one thing and rocks will do another thing. And rocks can't do what oranges will do, and neither can oranges do what rocks will do. So why? Because we're all going down. My daughter, but I want her to be educated. Why, but? I'm with you. But she should be educated. But why? So she can make money. No. You've misguided your daughter. Your daughter's misguided now. She thinks she's a man. She's not a man. She doesn't have to be a man. I want to educate my daughter so she can better the community. Ahlan. That's why I want to educate my daughter. I want to educate my daughter so she's not ignorant, so she's open-minded, so she can teach her children, so she can raise the Shafi'is and the Abu Hanifas and the Imam Ghazalis and the Salah ad-Din Ayyubis of the Ummah. Not so she can chase money. Not so she can chase money. And if that's why I'm getting educated, sorry, sisters, the reward is either there or nothing. For you blokes, we're the draft horses. You know the draft horse? It's a big horse, they plough on the draft. That's us. That's all we can do really. Illa ma rahima rabbi. But the sisters, if your sister, your wife, whatever, they can do the things we can't do. Because they have different responsibilities on the earth. And so again, it goes back to all these things. Most of our problems, what? أخوف ما أخاف عليكم الدنيا أن تنافسوها. The biggest fear that I have for you, the Prophet ﷺ said, the most fearful of fears I have for you is that you will become competitive in the affairs of this world. Hello? Okay, it's never too late as long as you're breathing. We are going down the wrong path, but don't try and be a man. And the brother, they live at home, many brothers, non-Muslims, they live at home, whatever, they stay at home fathers. As soon as their wives get 45 and a bit more, divorce. I'm yet to see one that's gone past that. I'm yet to say, I don't have all the statistics, I'm not an expert, I haven't done a study on it, it's just colloquial. All the brothers I know, all the people that I know, non-Muslims, brothers will never do that, I've never heard of a brother doing that, but the non-Muslim guys that I know, they're all of them, because the roles can't be reversed. Sometimes they can, but the majority of the time they can't. That's it. She looks at him. She says, I want someone to look after me. You're not a man. I want somebody else. But she wanted him to do that, and he agreed to do it. But they didn't fit. Everyone's got a role in life. And once we start fulfilling those roles, then we'll see changes. We'll see huge changes, massive changes. But it's got to start here and here. Guys, my mind does. If I want to be like so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, I'm not saying you shouldn't be rich, sisters. Yeah, it's great. But know why you're going to get the money. Know that you don't have to be like a man. You don't have to be like, you don't have to. You just sit at home and make sure you look pretty, and that's enough. That's enough. That's the minimum. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to work. You have to pay rent. You don't have to do any of those things. Unless there's an agreement between you. That's all you got to do. If that's what you want to do. And if you want to do more than that, do something that's going to benefit you in this life and the next, and benefit others in this life and the next. And it's da'wah. It's da'wah, which is the prophetic tradition. That's what he used to do, alayhi salam. That's why he was sent. So when we get our heads around money and how to use money and the benefits of money and how Muslim our response or the way we focus or think about money, then we'll start to change. Because as we said very, very first week, that money is everything for everybody now, but we need to know how to use it, that's all. There's one thing I forgot to mention, is debts. Imam Shafi'i says that once the 1 year passes, you got debts, you don't got debts, you have to take out the zakat first and then pay your debts. So the whole being the Islamic year, once you got $10,000, okay, and you have it for one Islamic year, and you owe someone $5,000. Let's say you owe someone $9,000. So I think by the looks of the faces, except for Khalid, mashallah.
Only if you're over the threshold.
Of course, that's why we said $10,000.
But are you going to be over the threshold if you've got debt?
Okay, that's where there's two different opinions. Yeah. Okay, Imam Shafi'i, and this is how much in hand. Okay, you want to say cash? Do that. Oh, there we go. Okay, you got $10,000 cash, and you owe 9. Who knows what the K is? 1,000. It's like kilos, 1,000. 9K. So 9K you owe, right? And then 300 and whatever it is, 1 year, lunar year, has passed. It's passed on the money. You had 10,000 for the whole year. You have to pay, and in the Shafi'iyah, what is it, $250? Mm-hmm. Yep. So the zakat equals $250. Pay that first, and you've got what? 9,750, and you pay back whatever it is, the $9,000.
But aren't you meant to pay debt back as soon as you can?
Okay. This is Imam Shafi'i. This is an example to show us how zakat is. Okay. And this is another of Abu Uthman ibn Affan al-Mardan. Before the month of Ramadan, Uthman used to go in the street in Medina and tell people Ramadan. He used to say, "Pay back your debts. Zakat time's coming. Pay back your debts. Pay back your debts." Okay. But in Abu Hanifa, his zakat is the opposite. So. Didn't work out for us. Alright, Abu Hanifa he says this, that zakat is, even after the 1 year passing, less debts. Okay, so if it was the 10,000, I could have used the K. He would say in 1 year past, he would say minus the 9 equals 1,000. Any zakat on that? If you're looking at the gold standard? No. No zakat. So that's the difference. This is Abu Hanifa. So basically, again, it goes back to being vigilant and understanding the purpose of money. The other day I had a client, they were working and they had money and they were both working, they were overseas, all these things. They came back, I don't know how they did it, mashallah. They saved $500,000, it's a lot of money. And they came back and they were all like, and we had a mortgage. And I'm like, why didn't you pay off your mortgage? Like, my husband, this is what she said, because my husband loved to see the bank account increasing and he didn't pay it back. So there are people like that, okay? And I'm like, no, she goes, no, that's just how he was. And I said, I had to cry and yell and carry on for however long for him to pay back the mortgage. Okay, so don't think these strange things happen with money. It's very, very strange things, because once it enters the heart, what do he say? The most fearful of the fearful things I fear for you. The most fearful is to people to compete in the dunya. Oh, he's got this watch, I need a better watch. She's got this shoes, I need a better shoes. He's got this car, I need a better car. He's got this in the house, I need better than that. And what do you think that makes?
Rivalries.
Rivalries, which turns to?
Competitiveness.
You said envy.
I said enemies, but it sounded like envy.
Enmity, envy. Okay? Hased. And what happens when there's hased? That's what the hadith says. تَبَاغَدُوا تَحَاسَدُوا وَيَضْرِبْ رِقَابُكُمْ يَضْرِبْ بَعْضُكُمْ رِقَابَ بَعْض. It says that it gets to the point where, because when a person is jealous, I think it's a mental condition. My personal view, in my experience, not being a doctor, not being a psychologist or a psychiatrist, having no medical training whatsoever, I think that it's a mental melee. Because they can't see reality anymore. And that's what insanity saying. They don't understand reality. Insane, they don't understand reality. But it's directed to a particular individual or a group of people. So they become the green-eyed monster. It's a monster. Is a monster human? No. Right? It's a monster, brainless. It's a monster, no thought, just instinct. And they can't see people for who they are, and they shoot each other. You never know what. The guy shot the other guy because of a garbage bin or something, whatever the story was. There's probably more to the story, but that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. Okay? So we have to understand that this is a major aspect of our lives. And you cannot run away from it. These people that say, dunya, Habibi, get away from the dunya. You can't. You cannot get away from it. You need to know how to deal with it. You can't. Because look, it's 10, whatever it is, time to go home, and the lights are on. It's hot outside, hot in here too, but we can make it cooler if we need to. All right? We've got all that's all dunya. That's all extra. Like we said, even at that charity at Muslim Aid, they only turn the AC on 4 hours because it's not their money. All right? Not their money. So, no, you can't run away with it. You can't. Okay, we need to understand it. But if you don't understand with it, don't understand it, you don't know how to deal with it, it's going to get you. It's going to get you. And then you find these guys, no dunya, you come and see them, the guys that I know. You see him 4 years later, the guys 5, 6, 7 years later, this guy's driving a brand new car, he's bought a house on interest now. I mean, you're the one who was saying, get away from dunya. Yeah, brother, but things change and whatever. All right, I'm happy for you. That's great. I'm not dissing that. But what I'm saying is when you don't know how to deal with it, it's going to get you. Anything in life. We only fear one, Allah. Everything else we don't. We learn how to use it. And don't think Allah hasn't told us how to use it. Everything's in the Qur'an. Everything's there and in the prophetic tradition. Now.
Sorry, can I ask, if someone's, in terms of the debt, if someone's passed away and they've passed away with the debt under their name, how does that, and let's say their immediate family's struggling themselves to make ends meet, how does that work? Is that still...
It's a big problem because the Prophet he didn't pray on people, didn't do the janazah prayer for people who had debt on them. So either the person that owed the debt to has to forgive, or they've got to pay by installments, or come with some sort of an arrangement with the person that's the debt, or the person that's owed the debt. The debt.
I'll just add on to that. So let's just say, for example, if it's a mortgage, say it's interest haram, and you don't deal with it, but it's on your parents. Do you take it on and
Well,
pay
normally what happens is the house is sold, and normally, I mean, depending on how much equity is in the house, that should cover the
What
debt
if
most
you
of the
got
time.
family still living in there? So like,
No. I mean, if it's a debt, either they've got to pay the people living there, or the it's got to be sold. But whoever's owed the money has to have their money, whether it's the bank or whatever it is. If someone wants to take on their own
Has to be
responsibility,
instantly like paid once they pass
Well, I
away,
mean-
or
pretty much.
okay.
Pretty much. And they also have, depending on some things have mortgage insurance as well, where if someone dies, they pay down. I don't know much about that stuff. But those things exist. Or any other questions about this specifically in general, about anything else? Alright, so zakat, you got it down? So test next week then, inshallah. Verbal test. Don't stay away because we have to go through it. We have to make sure we understand it. As I said, it's a huge part of who we are. It's a rukn of the deen. It's not a fard. It's a rukn of the deen. And it's the economic justice in this, and further other things we mentioned, other justice in the Muslim world, but economic. And it's a big thing in this day and age. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير الإمام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Actually, one thing that I forgot to mention is Ahlul Bayt, the progeny of Bani Hashim, the progeny of the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, that it's haram for them to take. That's why it's also important to know your nasib, to know where your forefathers are from. If you've got a family tree, or you can get to your family tree, and it says that you're from Bani Abbas, Bani Muttalib, Bani Hashim, or the Prophet's family, Fatima or Ali, then it's haram for you to take zakat. It's haram for you to take sadaqah. Okay? So that's one thing that we have to add on to this. Anyone who's a descendant of the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, or is from the prophetic family, Bani Muttalib, which is Ali Allah Anhu, and Bani Abbas, which is the Abbas Allah Anhu, Abdullah bin Abbas, they are haram for them to take zakat and sadaqah. Both of those two things. It's ikraman for the Prophet of Allah because he was haram for him to take sadaqah. And then al-Hasan, or al-Husayn, I can't remember which one that time, there was a bunch of dates that was for sadaqah, he came to eat it, and the Prophet took it out of his mouth. So there's plenty of evidence about that. And it's saying that we don't, how are they better than us? That's what libos will tell you. They're not saying they're better than you. They have a special status because they've got the same DNA and genetics as the Prophet of Allah. What, isn't that good enough for you? You follow the Prophet, you love the Prophet, you sally out of the Prophet each prayer, you pray like him, you're supposed to act like him, and it's not good enough. It's tajleel. It's to glorify the Prophet of Allah. Everyone's going to get accounted for according to their deeds. And the Prophet said, no one is better than anyone, or Ajami, a non-Arab or Arab, no one's better except by the taqwa of Allah. So we're not saying anyone's better. It's just a special maqam. It's a special thing, that's a position that's reserved for the Prophet of Allah and his family. And look, there's plenty of ulama that said that at the end of times, that there'll be 70% of the Muslims will have some relation back to the Prophet of Allah and all these things. Al-Hasan, Allah Madanu, when he was in Baghdad, he married hundreds of women. This is the grandson of the Prophet, married hundreds of women, and he had children with them all. One day his father Ali got up on the minbar. He said, don't marry your daughters to my son, because all he does is he divorces them. When he divorces them, he gives them enough money to live the rest of their life, gold and whatever else. And then people give them money because they know that, whatever it is, easy fellas, calm down. Alright? Then Sayyidina Ali al-Madam got up on the minbar. He said, don't marry your daughters to my son. And they said, no, we don't mind if they get divorced because it's the prophetic lineage. And so, I think I've said it before, I met Indian guys, African guys, all different people, they're all descendants of the Prophet of Allah.
Honestly, what if there's no way of us telling?
You have to do your best to find out. If you're Lebanese, you can go to the down in the, what's it called? Wazat in the Fus or something like that. Because what happens is there's families that everyone knows, like the Najjareen, they're Bani Najjareen, Al-Kilaniyin. Most of the people that are Sharif, anyone who's got Sharif, most of those people, like someone Sharif or Ashraf, their last name, generally they're from the Prophet of Allah. If you're a Rifa'i, from the Prophet of Allah, all these people, it's clear. So what happens is they followed, like, my last name is Farache. That's not a last name. That's just someone made it up. Yeah. No, it's Farache. It means butterfly. What kind of it's not even a real name. It's not even a real name. You know what I mean? So somewhere along our progeny, they say we're from Palestine, and it's just all anecdote. But we found out our family goes back to them anyway. But just all these names came up. You know what I mean? Like someone's Hajj Abad. That means there was named after their great grandfather or whatever. So what happens is you can follow your lineage until you come to one of these families that are known to be from either Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah or from one of the Sahaba, especially in Lebanon, because Lebanon, all the Sahaba came there. Lebanon, Sham, that area, they came there. So a lot of us are related to Sahaba, and some of us have prophetic, lineage in our
So is there a high chance that we...
Could be. The thing is, like I said, you got to follow it back to the families, and there's the mu'arrikhin, like they look at the ulama, they look at progeny, then they'll tell you. But if you can find it back to one of those families, and your family's from that side, khalas, that's it. You're from the Prophet's family, alayhi salam, and you have to act that way. Sorry, it's harder rather than easier. All right. Any questions about that? Queries? That's important. They can't take any zakat. They should take what's called the fay. When the companions or the Muslims would go and take, like the crown of Kisra and all that, a fifth of that would go to the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, and he would divide that up and give his family from that as well. Duty from all. All right. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala khayrina wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Ya Rahman Rahim, alhamdulillah. Ya Rahman Rahim, يا رحمن الرحيم طب القلوب على لا إله إلا الله وقدامنا على الصراط المستقيم وثبتنا عليه يا Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to elevate our status in this life for the next, and to give us gnosis of you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of those people who truly understand our purpose in this life and have the capacity and the strength and the will, and we ask for your tawfiq to be able to embody and live that purpose that we have in this life. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of those people who understand Islam as best as possible and implement Islam as best as possible. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of those people that understand the economic reason for living and financial reason for living, and those people, make us of those people, Ya Allah, that fulfill that purpose in their lives, Ya Rahman Rahim. Ya Allah, we ask you to change our hearts away from loving the dunya and loving money. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of those people who are generous in what they own, and those people who give up what they have, even if they're in need of that thing for the benefit of others, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to bring the ummah back to La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. We ask you to forgive the Muslims, Ya Allah, to tajawaz anhum, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. We ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, to accept our repentance and their repentance and bring us back to La ilaha illallah in the proper manner that you ascribe, Ya Allah, alayhi salam, in the proper manner practiced by the Prophet of Allah, alayhi salam. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم بخير من الحضرة النبي بالسر الفاتحة.